So what we're going to do is we're going to start backwards and I'll work our way to the present. So you're a Jersey boy, East Coast. Tell us how the whole process of American Idol even started and how you got dwindled down and how that whole thing happened.
Right. Born in Brooklyn, actually, originally, and I'm the youngest of three. I have a much older brother and sister. They don't like when I say that, but it's true. Like 10 and 11 years, but I just worshiped them, and they were always in shows growing up, and my brother's actually had quite an iconic sort of underground music career and as a writer and a performer. So I always just wanted to be just like them, you know. They were both kind of out of the house when I was in my real sort of, influential years regarding music. So I used to listen to his music, and he would send me records home. And I think that really shaped the young sort of rocker and the musical theater kid as well. Right. I remember him doing shows, you know, like West Side Story when I was a little kid in high school. It felt so real to me. Right. And I just wanted to do that.
Right.
And
see, well, just stopping you there, because it's interesting, because I have my brother and sister 10 and 11 years older than me. So my brother was like a big Kiss fan. He grew up in the 70s.
Right.
So he was a big Kiss fan, big Led Zeppelin fan, big Van Halen. So I appreciate all those bands. And because of that, the range of music that I listen to is so incredible, because like somebody my age wouldn't be listening to, you know, Alice Cooper and stuff like that. But so again, that's actually a benefit to you.
For sure. It was a huge influence. And my brother was into definitely more like underground kind of cool, you know, from Bowie to Bauhaus, but the classic rock as well got me into some of that stuff. My sister was into more like the new wave bands of the early 80s, and I loved that as well. But, you know, definitely a huge influence on me, so musically and both as an actor and a performer. So I think for me, I grew up listening to just everything across the board, from Jesus Christ Superstar to Bon Jovi.
Right.
And I just always had this big voice from when I was a young kid, but I had no confidence. I actually had extreme stage fright well into high school.
Really?
Yeah, until I really kind of got the chance to just really like stand in front of a band and just know what that feels like.
Right.
And really fail at it as well.
Right.
And also then all of a sudden the girls liked it, and that feeling, that shift.
Right. There comes your confidence.
All of a sudden there's like a shift there, like, wait, there's girls they really like this. This is cool.
Right.
So then that fuels it. I think anyone that's ever been in a band is like, I love the music, but once the girls really liked it, that's when
things happen. Now we got to keep going. You know
so for me, you know, I kind of was always trying to sort it out. I could do really any style musically, from, you know, rock to theater and jazz and stuff. And I played in some bands as a young adult, and did a lot of community theater, and did, you know, every local production I could do. We're from Brooklyn, but I grew up in North Jersey in Bergen County, so I went to high school in Franklin Lakes, the housewives territory.
Right.
It used to be where I'm from. Now it's where they're from.
Right.
But actually a great appreciation for the arts out there, and I went to a very competitive high school, really talented kids around me,
right,
and that pushes you.
Absolutely.
Like in
It's
athleticism,
so
athletics, when there's other really good kids there, you know, pushes you to be great too. So, you know, I didn't have a normal plan, like go right into a conservatory at 17. I graduated high school 17 still. So messed around, worked full-time, went to school part-time, played in some bands, came into the city, was trying to get an agent, auditioning, all that stuff. And then it wasn't really until I decided to go away to the Boston Conservatory, Berklee College of Music, that next shift kind of happened, where I had to make the conscious effort to leave, you know, New York and New Jersey and my family and all that, go really do real training, and try to focus all of these skills, and kind of put a real plan together. So that's when things started to kind of take shape.
See, that's interesting to me because, again, we've obviously, I know you personally, and JoJo did a lot of due diligence, but I didn't know all this. I was under the impression that you really went on American Idol and everything has changed.
No.
I didn't know you were that, you know, you had that extensive training
Yeah.
prior to American Idol. I just thought, you know, you said, fuck it, let me try it. You know what I mean?
In a way, yes.
And then all of a sudden, you know, life changed. Almost like Lilo in a sense,
Sure.
where he was on the beach and all of a sudden he's in a De Niro movie. You just step in front of Simon and he's like, you know.
I wish it were that
Yeah,
simple.
right.
But if you remember, now you were quite young, but when I was on the show, it was the first year they upped the age limit to like 28 or something. So
Although I do remember watching that season just because of, you know.
What season was that?
That was
Carrie Underwood.
That's
So
when Carrie
Carrie
Underwood
Underwood,
went.
okay.
2004, right?
2005, season
2005.
4.
Sorry, season 4, 2005.
2005, 6, whatever. We went on tour. I mean, it was just madness then. It was
So
just,
let's take that back.
yeah,
So you hear about this American Idol.
right.
What's the process now? Do you have like an application? What's the
Yeah,
process?
especially then, you know, I had been in Boston for 3 straight years. I worked round the clock. Every, you know, professional gig. I was doing my minor at Berkeley. I was playing in bands. I had a big apprenticeship at Williamstown at, you know, it's a famous theater festival. Then 9/11 happened.
Right.
And I lost my first cousin. Everything changed. I was like, what are we doing here? I'm putting on shows. I'm doing shows. I'm doing music.
Right.
You know, the world is like crashing down
Right,
upon
right.
us, as you know.
Right.
And but then I realized, you know what? I think what I'm doing is maybe the greatest thing I could do. You know, is, you know, follow my art, pursue my art, my passion, uplift people, take
Sure.
them on an escape and a journey. You know, especially the magic of theater. So I stuck to my plan. I booked Rent. I was in Rent on the road for a couple of years, playing the lead in Rent, Roger.
Right.
One song, Glory, all of
Sure,
that.
sure.
It was still a huge show in the
Yeah.
early 2000s. It came out in 96. And then I got that call like, look, you've done a great job. My band would come out. We'd play shows. The Rent
Right.
heads would come. This is kind of, you know, the start of the internet. So starting to use the internet as a tool to push my band. And then they're not going to renew your contract for the next year.
Right.
They're bringing in a whole new cast of young people. Thanks, great job, you know. But
Next.
that's it.
Yeah.
And then that was my first real sort of challenge, and you know, I was like, what the F do I do? What am I going to do now?
You can curse on this show, by the way.
Right.
Just saying.
Fuck.
Fuck.
So
Yeah.
I didn't know what to do, and then an old girlfriend from Syosset, New York.
It's always the girls, JoJo. It's always the girls.
Yeah, Steve, I'm starting to notice.
Oh my gosh.
She goes, let's go down to D.C. and audition for this TV show, American Idol. And I'm like, I've heard of it. You have to remember, it only had 3 seasons. They were
Right.
big, but I was in Boston.
Right.
I was working around the clock. We didn't have DVR. We didn't have TiVo. You heard of it. You knew who, like, Kelly Clarkson was, but you were like, I haven't really seen it.
Right.
And all of a sudden, quietly, it had 3 big, huge seasons. So honestly, dude, actor first, I needed a job.
Right.
Went on to D.C. with her, $10 Chinatown bus.
Right.
We cut the whole fucking line.
Uh-huh.
We got a bracelet guaranteeing us an audition.
Right.
Wow.
20-something thousand people there at the time. It was mad hysteria. It was like Hulkamania. It was just crazy.
Right.
And dude, right when I got there, they just had like the cameras on me, just between you know.
Right.
They were just like, "Who the f is this guy?
Right,
What
right.
is happening here?" And I came. You know, remember I was in Rent. I had like my emo-y rocker leather kind of thing. My hair was a little choppy, long. I was in a band, so at this point I was like, I'm gonna just focus on the band. Fuck
Right.
acting.
Right.
But then she's like, "Let's go do this."
Right.
And then they're like, "So wait, you're in a band, but they don't know you're here?" And I was like, "Yeah, they don't know I'm auditioning for this big pop show, but I'm like a rock guy."
Right.
And I had a band from Brooklyn. They just ate the shit up. To
Right,
be
right.
honest, I played it.
Right.
And
Sure.
they played me, and we played each other, and
Right.
it was beautiful music.
Right.
So it made for a great sort of launch. But I knew I was never beating Carrie Underwood.
But so the judges back then were still Simon, right?
Yeah.
Was it Paula
Yep.
And-
Paula, Randy, Simon,
and Randy? Okay.
Even at my
Oh.
audition, was Mark McGrath also, because
Oh,
they had
okay.
at the time Sugar Ray, huge. He's since become a good friend of mine. We play in this band called the Band of Merrymakers.
Oh,
It's like a
that's funny.
celebrity Christmas kind of
Right.
fun comedy
Oh, cool.
act with like original songs. We
Right.
do the Today Show. We do some tours. So I've become buddies with him since, and he still tells the funny story because he kind of, in a way, if you go back, he saved my ass in a way.
Right.
But dude, it was already planned out.
Now,
I was getting on the show. I had a story.
You already knew.
No, but like looking back, like they crafted it. Like I was never not gonna be one of. Like it was always gonna be me and Bo and Carrie. Like that was happening.
They want stories to tell.
There was a story.
It's a reality TV show.
Seacrest, they came all the way to Brooklyn and they dropped the news on my band that I was leaving the band to be on American Idol.
Right.
That was 20 minutes of the premiere episode for season 4. Like it was like a humongous segment. They just launched it and everyone's like Constantine. So that kind of happened for me. And then it was really about like, okay, I'm not going to be Justin Bieber, that kind of guy. Looking like, let's say current artist. So like, what can I do with this opportunity? At some point, I'm going to fall off this show. And I had a big TV deal at ABC with Kelsey Grammer's company. We developed a series there for like upwards of 2 years.
Right.
It just never kind of came together. Great writers.
Oh,
sorry.
No, that's okay. No. This is all stuff I guess a lot of people don't know. How did American Idol? How did all that change for you? I mean, your life, in a sense.
Because you come from this like conservatory setting, right? Where I was used to having really strict
classical training and teachers.
And teachers that were assholes, frankly. Amazing
just rip
teachers.
you apart,
they would kill you on a daily basis
Yeah.
and like in front of your class. So like I was basically just so used to that already, like it didn't even faze me.
Right.
Like going in front of Simon, I was like, whatever. I was like, you should see my,
Right.
You should meet Annie Thompson. She will fucking out English you any day, and she is the coldest winter storm that you've ever.
The coldest winter storm.
Though she's just like winter's coming. She's pre Game of Thrones cold.
Yeah. So how was your relationship with? How were they cool? Were they
were cool. They kind of just embraced me.
Paul is to me. I'm a pretty good judge of character. There's been very few times, even when doing films, that there was somebody I like, and I would misread them how they really are. To me, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, she seems like she's just super awesome.
She's just the kindest soul that exists, and she's just this. I mean, she's probably like an 85-pound person. She's a small person. Like, she's just like...
Small but mighty.
Yeah, there's so much just love and energy and positivity. And frankly, she's pretty freaking hot She never had kids.
Hot. She's super hot. I just saw her recently. She's doing a new tour.
Yeah, she's been touring. A lot of those great like heritage pop acts are back out there again. And there's like a whole trend on that now. And so she's doing pretty great. And
what about Simon?
Yeah, I have a question about him. Is it that hard exterior that he kind of gives on camera, like that hard ass kind of?
Yeah.
But he's like really like
he's a
so
genius first and foremost as far as just
marketing and stuff.
Yeah, and he's playing a character.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, he's
gotta be.
I'm sure he can have his what moments. Cunty, moments
exactly.
and all. But
exactly.
But he really owns his whole brand.
Well, I mean,
off camera, we had a couple of good times, and this was a little before. I used to sneak out every night. I grew up in the club scene here, so if you know people here, you get to know everyone there real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And like this is before the internet, really. I mean, not before the paparazzi madness that we see now. There were a few guys out chasing people with cameras, and they'd still have to go home and like upload the pics and like everything. So it was just a different world. And like, I just would sneak out every single night, and I was out in Hollywood just like killing it. I'm at like parties with Leonardo DiCaprio. Like that was just my life for like, it was crazy. But
could they really even control you though? Could they,
at one point they like sat me down. They're like, "Look, mate, we're starting to get calls like from security guys out there that you're just like out all the time." And dude, it got so big, the show, the sponsor money was so massive, and the numbers like 30 million a night, 3 nights a week.
That's crazy.
Front story of like every television show. It was just a different time.
Yeah.
you know, as you know, and it was like the Death Star on the TV schedule. Like people were like, fuck, I got to go up against American Idol.
Right.
You know, it's just like over. People would go home, like run home to see it.
Well, I mean,
it was like the Running Man. It was just weird. You know?
Exactly. And then again, now, like I said, even today now, I mean, you got The
Still a
Voice,
good
you got all
audience,
but I'm just saying there's so many spin-offs
Of course,
from that,
but
obviously.
that was like one of the first of its kind to be such
probably
a big
was, I think. Except for Star Search. Remember Star Search?
There's always been like competition shows, even back in the radio days, right? And people just love that. And
Dancing with the Stars.
Dancing was their first year, was my year on the show.
Right.
So Idol had a couple of seasons, but they're down the hall from us. That's why I'm very close with Carrie Ann, because she used to choreograph on American Idol, do like group number stuff, like staging, musical staging. We're all down the hall from each other. So that first year of dancing, I got to know them all really well too, because we're like on top of each other.
That's so
Literally,
cool.
literally, or
well.
Okay, moving on. Okay.
Anyway, so
it's a lot of energy. It's a lot of energy.
No, I got you. So, now Randy, we can't forget Randy before we move on. Randy seems like he's
I was the first man on the show. Because they had upped the age that year, they'd only really had little boys. So I'm like a 28, 29-year-old man, really.
Right.
You know, I'm a young, skinny rocker.
To like,
it's different.
Yeah, okay.
You know, and it's like, this is, you know. So all of a sudden there was like a man that they're...
Right.
It just is a little bit of a different thing.
Yeah, of course.
You know?
Right.
And they feel that, like, you know, the women their age are, like, gravitating towards me, you know? And so they're interesting. Like, I love them both very much. But there was, you know, there's some machismo sort of moments. You know, that's just good TV, though. Right. And honestly, like, you know, I had an incredible run with Bohemian Rhapsody, like everything. I mean, I just think that in the end, it was great television having me just like free fall off the show one week. They made frontline stories for weeks. And frankly, they also had a big Dateline special going up against American Idol. Right. That was calling out Paula Abdul for a bunch of accusations. I remember that too. And then all of a sudden, I free falled off the show. Just saying. Right. You know, it was like, oh.
Right, I got you.
You know, I had never been in the bottom three ever once. I
don't think I ever voted for you once. No. I'm kidding. I'm not. Unfortunately, I was not I never watched the show.
You texted in.
Well, you know what's funny? I've never watched a show, but I got 2 films. I got you and Ace Young.
That's awesome.
And it was right. So I mean, it worked out. If I would have known, maybe I did. You know,
for many years, it was just a great platform for just talent to come out. And I love all the other shows that have spun off of it. But at the end of the day, when you look back at like the history of Idol, and clearly the 5 to 10 just stratospheric stars that have come off there, but then like the next 10 that have like great careers and they're still household names, whereas the other shows can't name one person.
I can't. Yeah, no, I was going
to
say.
No, not one.
Yeah.
No, I know.
Gun to my head, cannot name really, unless I know the person personally, that's come off those shows because they are just about the judges. Right. They are strictly a vehicle for the judges. Of course. And granted, go on there, get your, you know, a couple of million followers or whatever. I mean, you're still going to go back to doing like, you know, your corporate event, whatever it is, unless you have a Rock of Ages to co-create, you know, or a vehicle that's going to allow you to have legs. Like if you are an actor, you know, creating that role or, you know, your songs are undeniable. Like you need that hit. You know, and it's just so hard. I don't know why, but it is.
So we'll touch on that. So Idol ends. You do that thing with Kelsey Grammer. It doesn't materialize.
Right.
To become a lead on Broadway, it's pretty fucking impressive. How does that whole thing happen?
Well, first, I had great agents at the time. I was with CAA still, and you know, good people looking after me. And honestly, like, why you never hear me talk smack about the Idol is because they always took great care of me. And they had fucking Carrie Underwood to launch, and they were still like looking out for me. Did they go all in with me and with Clive Davis and all of that? No. But fine, my path started taking me Kelsey Grammer. I did a record with Hollywood Records. We did The Tonight Show. I did my Bohemian Rhapsody with Queen on the tribute, Killer Queen, me, Gavin DeGraw, Los Lobos, you know, fucking sick people. So I'm doing my own stuff. Now, that was a little against the rules, by the way. They had these blackout rules. But I was like, not pastorealo, really.
Right.
This is my time.
Right.
Come for me. And I did things with my band, which was not a great idea, but I owed that to them. Pray for the soul of Betty. We were like this ugly, grungy band that never really got to develop our material, but all of a sudden they became a thing because I was so big from Idol.
From the platform, right.
So I did some touring with them, did my own sort of touring. The TV show didn't work out. The agent was taking me around Broadway openings at the time. I saw all these great shows were opening that season. Spring Awakening first opened, The Drowsy Chaperone, cool plays. I was making my presence known. They knew I was a Boston Conservatory kid. I was in Rent. You kind of have to go around and kiss the ring, as you know.
Right.
Oh, that's Stanulis. He's a young filmmaker.
Right.
He's at this festival. Who's that guy? There's a little of that bullshit. Right. So all of a sudden, the perfect opportunity opened up. The Wedding Singer was open on Broadway. It had recently, I was at the opening.
Right.
It had opened on Broadway. Great reviews, some Tony nominations. It just didn't catch. It didn't sell.
Right.
So they had me come in. I met with all the creatives, and then they end up putting me in the show, which is so rare. Like, I was an early replacement, sort of a stunt cast,
right.
but clearly, like, I could really nail this role also. And I took that supporting kind of lead part, and I think it just showed everyone, like, wow, okay, he's willing to do that. It doesn't have to be about him playing the lead.
Right.
And I killed it in Wedding Singer, and I really kept that show open for another 6 months, even though it was so good. And the other kid understood. He took a paid vacation, by the way.
Right.
So that was my first sort of
bad gig.
experience with that. And then I did the soap opera. So I went back to L.A. for like a year and did the soap opera, Bold and the Beautiful. And that's when I started to have the meetings. I had met the Rock of Ages creators early on, like in my exit meetings from American Idol. So that year or two, we had a conversation about Rock of Ages, and they're like, "This is it, man. This is it." It was like a mixtape. Like, this is the whole show. And I was like, sounds great. I mean, call me when you get to New York.
Right.
Because I want to be a part of it, but, I can't do it for nothing in this early development stage. Some things I have to pursue. So, sure enough, did the soap, launched my first album, self-titled on an indie label. I created Sixth Place Records because I came in sixth place. Did that through Sony, and then I'm back in New York, and the Rock of Ages people call, and we go and we meet. We open the show off Broadway. The word of mouth is tremendous. Then we're going to Broadway. Then we're at the Tonys. Wow. And then 10 years later, it's like a household iconic brand. It's just crazy. So that's basically.
How long was your run on Broadway with Rock of Ages?
I did it, off Broadway for whatever the end of, maybe the summer of 2008 through the end of the year. Mm-hmm. And then we closed it, and we took a couple of months off, and then we reopened in April 2009. I think I did the first 2 years on Broadway, did it on the road for a year, came back, and that's when I jumped into like the Jekyll and Hyde thing for a while. Right. And then I circled back to Rock of Ages when we finally closed it.
You were pre-Sebastian Bach or post?
After Sebastian. Sebastian was maybe one of the last Jekyll and Hyde's the first time around. This was like a revival version that was kind of like specialized for me. We did a year tour of it, and then we did it on Broadway for a short run.
Right.
It's a bombastic, crazy, over-the-top show. And in fact, actually, Halloween night, this Halloween, October 31st, I'm playing a double feature show with Frank Wildhorn, the composer of Jekyll and Hyde, and a million other shows. Jekyll and Hyde, Dracula, Excalibur, Bonnie and Clyde, Scarlet Pimpernel. We're doing a big show together, Frank Wildhorn and Constantine Maroulis, at the Green Room in New York at the Hotel Yotel. It's a
awesome.
Great venue in there, full band. We're doing all the highlights of his career and a lot of mine as well, with like a sick band and great guests. So check that out right now. That'd be great. Halloween night, come all dressed up, and we'll steampunk, whatever.
The link is in his bio, by the way, if you go check him out on Instagram.
Yeah, that's right. Check me out at Constantine Maroulis.
And we're definitely going to promote all
you
that
guys
stuff
are great.
at the end, too. And
so, that's it, man. For me, it's like, yes, there's nothing in the world like creating the role on Broadway,
Right.
and to be nominated for a Best Actor Tony by your peers.
I know a guy
it's
named
just-
Tony. Is that the same thing?
It is, kind of.
No?
Once, when I didn't win the Tony, someone handed me a Tony, and it was like this little trophy with Tony Danza's face on it.
Oh,
So it's like, that's my Tony.
Cool. Yeah, well,
So
there
I
you
have
go.
that.
I could have brought two
Okay.
guys from Bensonhurst with
That's
me.
it. You know, Anthony and
And Anthony
and T.
no knows
And T.
Right. Right. But so again, so all that happens, right? And then you transition into film now.
Yeah, you know, I think it just, you know, it takes a while sometimes. Like, no matter how many guest stars I've gotten to do as an actor and little things with film along the way, you know, I think still people see you as like Constantine.
Right.
It's
and
just
that's a
hard to break that.
Again,
And it's a good thing and a bad thing.
and it's a great thing you said that, because that's the golden chalice and the cross at the
Right.
same time.
Yeah.
The whole American Idol thing, and then trying to say, okay, now you know me, but now forget about that.
Right.
Now I'm Constantine, the serious
But I'm
actor.
like Tony, you know, Best Actor Tony nominee guy too.
Right.
Like, I can really give you whatever you want.
Absolutely.
And in fact, that Constantine, that's my greatest role. That guy that you think.
Right.
That's been what. So, you know, it's a struggle sometimes with that. I think maybe now finally you hit like 40, you know, you have some wear on you. I have a daughter now, you know, and I've really kind of lived a whole different life even since that crazy, you know, moment in my life.
Right.
That, yeah, you know, cool filmmakers like you,
thank
but there's been
Thank
other
you.
great
I'm sure-
opportunities.
yes, absolutely.
You know, I start this Roger Spottiswoode movie this month, and, you know, I grew up watching his movies, and it's just, like, so cool. Very good script. And I'm on this other thing called Dark State next month. So, yeah, I, you know, tested at Network just last week
Right.
for a cool show. And, you know, so those things, it's frustrating. I think some people just assume, like, you have work lined up.
Right.
Because it does quite look like I'm very busy on paper.
Right.
I'm
No,
very busy on paper.
no, but yeah, no, I got you.
But you know, you still have like mortgage, child support, you
Absolutely.
know,
Without a
elderly parents, and you know, all kinds of stuff. So you're like,
You
the
gotta keep
rejection is
working.
harder when you get a little older, I think.
Yeah. I would agree.
Especially when you're
because
close, man.
I agree.
When you're
because
when
you know
you're
what?
testing for everybody,
Right. I agree.
and then you
because,
don't get the offer,
yes.
and the agents are like, "You tested. That's great. You're starting a movie," and like,
No, absolutely.
that's great because they just want you to keep getting good feedback,
Right.
and then they'll keep getting you appointments,
Right. No, I
Because
agree.
it only helps everyone.
But when you're doing it for a long time and you've done things successfully, at some point I don't want to say you expect it, you feel like you deserve it, but it's
you
it's a
might.
lot easier. You know, again at 20,
Right.
21, 22, when you're just kind of doing it. You know what I mean? And you still try to build a resume. So
Right.
rejection, I think, is a little easier.
Well, you're like, Psh, next,
Right.
you know.
Right. And
Yeah, yes and no. I mean, I don't. Yeah, I don't.
You
think,
wanna
I don't think
still
it's-
do well every
right,
time,
But I
of
also think whether you're in your 40s or in your 20s or in your teens, whatever stage in your life you are, you're still going to. Like, even if you do get those testings and, like, your, producer sessions or whatever, like, you are getting that far. Like, you have fans. They want you, but there's
Right.
something that's just a little off, and it doesn't have to do with you at the end of the day. And I
It-
think just
it really
remembering
doesn't.
that.
You
Well,
have to
that's-
remember that.
Yeah.
Right.
Great point.
Right.
It's just matching a
It
lot
is.
of it.
Absolutely.
It's like you're in the room because you're sickly talented. They know it. They want you to be the person so they can, like,
They can be done, and,
They
like,
can
let's
be
get
out of
this
here.
ball
Well,
rolling.
move on to
Yeah,
the next
and
level.
absolutely.
also
you have to remember that, but it's hard.
right. And also being on this side, of the table sometimes when we're doing auditions, some people kill it, and it just I don't picture them in the head. Like
Right.
getting segueing. Yeah, see, doing the whole segue.
Yeah, the segue. I like the
Thank
segue.
you. The
better.
segue. That's easy for me to. That's easy for me to say.
Segue,
But
segue.
no, segue into Fifth Borough. Now, obviously, you had. It's a funny story because you came in for Chronicle
Right, originally.
to
and then
play the ME, and then we decided to go Fifth Borough first.
Right.
So when I saw Mark Green, right away, you didn't audition for Mark Green. We just gave it to you because I already knew he was talented,
Oh, thank you.
and we were going to cast you as the ME. and again, he did a great audition. But again, at that point, the reason why I'm saying that is I already knew what he could do. I had that look. His look was the look I wanted in my head.
Right.
So when I called the cast director, I said, Constantine would be good to get Constantine back. You know what I mean? So, and Constantine played a Mark Green, and he
sort of
plays a
weasels
slimy.
like he sort of sells out his own father-in-law
right.
for. Well, maybe we won't give the plot away, but he ends up, paying the
ultimate price.
The ultimate price.
at the
Premiering in January.
Right,
We'll wait till
premiering
then.
right,
Yeah.
but
January 17th.
and then and like I said, so he's been doing, he's been killing it, and again, he's doing all this other stuff, and then we brought him back for Chronicle, and again, he kind of played this hipster type of guy that we think
with an attitude. Yeah, we're not really sure what the story is there.
Right, we don't know if he's the killer.
Stay
or not.
tuned.
Right, so so with that being said, there's a couple quick questions I want to ask.
Sure,
that
fire away.
I do at the end all
do
the
it.
time.
Rapid fire.
That we're going to give you a rapid fire, and let's see what we get.
All right,
You could say no
First
comments. You could say no
answer.
comments.
let's go.
But first answer off the top of your head.
I'm an open book.
First answer off the top of your head.
Favorite color?
Blue.
Oh,
All right.
just kidding. That's not.
There
where
was so
we're
much
going.
disappointment with that.
No,
was so
I was
sad.
like,
All right, Steve, let's go.
you scared me. Would you
Yes.
fool around with Paula Abdul if she came on to you?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I probably could have, but at this point, I'll be like, yeah, let's do it.
The most talented person on American Idol you want to up against?
I mean, the thing about Carrie Underwood is she can wake up in the morning and be the best singer like within 2,000 miles. She just has a otherworldly instrument, and like, so do I. But and I recognize that. I'm like, she's just technically one of the sickest fucking belters I've ever heard in my life. So, I have to give it to her.
Okay, if you could be,
And I might have. Wait, I don't know.
Wait, what?
No.
What?
I
Wait,
don't know.
what?
No,
It could
no,
be exclu-
no,
it could be an
no.
exclusive.
No.
No.
She's a good girl.
No. That's awesome. Make sure we get that.
Just clip that.
If you could be in front of center stage in Madison Square Garden with your rock band, or you could be doing a Scorsese Irishman film, or you could be doing the next biggest play on Broadway.
Jesus.
But you could only have
What are you
one.
doing to me?
What would you choose? Garden, Scorsese.
Can I guess?
No. No.
Honestly, I gotta be
take
honest.
him off the hook.
I gotta be honest. Couple things. Like, who knows? I might just be an opening slot for some band.
You could be. You
This
are
is
the
the thing.
headliner.
Will anyone be there, or is it just be me on stage?
That's the
Would
question.
anyone
It's
be in
you-
the audience?
It's you and your band.
It's you and your band. You have a
Sold
hit
out Garden.
record. They're all there to
You have a
see
hit
you.
record. Right.
You have a lead in a Scorsese sick movie, whatever.
Right,
or you're
absolutely.
about to like create.
Or you're the lead in the big and Kiki Boots.
Right. Whatever. The
With
new.
Cyndi Lauper. Right.
Right.
Or Hamilton.
Wow.
Well, he
like
could-
the
he
new
wouldn't-
next.
he couldn't be in
I
Hamilton.
don't know. Well, I'm Greek. I'm not.
Well,
I'm not
alright.
Wonder Bread, but
There
I
you
could
go.
maybe be in it.
Yeah.
but I'm Puerto Rican.
Puerto
Okay.
Rican,
And
yes.
look, I got to say this.
Yeah, first
there's
answer comes to
nothing
your
in
head.
the world like creating a new role for the theater. There's just nothing. There's nothing that can compare to it. I mean, working with Scorsese, I get it, but like the feeling, the smell of the theater, the lines outside, the camaraderie, just the entire experience, the live audience every night, the energy, people dying to see the show because it's like a hit show, the celebrity people you meet, the energy of it. I don't know. Like, I've been there, so that I want again,
Right.
and
Okay.
I want that right
That
away.
was my guess.
Yeah, I've always wanted to be Led Zeppelin, and I've always wanted to be, De Niro. But I might just be a dorky musical theater kid at the end of the day, also underneath it all. And like, I just love that shit, and
that's
the
cool.
fucking, just the smell of the theater, like just.
No, I got
It's
you.
just like a baseball glove, like your
No,
old
that's
baseball
awesome.
glove. Yeah.
Who was your biggest influence?
You know, like I said, definitely family, you know, my brother and sister and all of that, and like all those kind of records and movies and films we always kind of watched as kids
musically,
together.
who's
But
your
then
biggest?
probably, my God, you know, I really always loved the Grateful Dead. They kind of represented so many musical styles, from like folk to, you know, rock and roll and, you know, the spiritual and all of that. So I really always loved the Grateful Dead and the whole classic rock thing. But someone like Jeff Buckley, like you see him and his guitar and his voice and his lyrics and the passion, you're just like, can I do that?
Right.
You know, and I can't, of course. I can sing that way, but I can't play or write like that. So
Kiss.
they're great. They were great. I mean, just great music. Wow. I mean, that we'll never see that again. You know, no one will ever make that kind of iconic impression probably ever again in an original act. And everyone told them they, you know, weren't very good,
Right.
but, you know, and the critics and whatnot, but they're fucking amazing.
The almost overrated rock band of all time.
The most overrated rock band of all time is... Wow. I don't know, man. That's not for me to say. I can't even think of an overrated one. I think of a few underrated
Who's
ones.
going to be an underrated one?
Oh, God. Okay, there's a great band I love, God Street Wine. They just never kind of happened. They were like a jammy kind of early 90s thing, and they were so fucking good, and they had so many songs, and we used to go and see them and dance and loved them. God Street Wine.
Greatest grunge band.
Oh, it's got to be Nirvana. It's gotta
You
be,
think, huh?
Yeah, for me.
See,
yeah.
I'm a Soundgarden guy.
Ooh, definitely love Soundgarden too,
That's-
but I mean, how do you?
can't- I mean, it's splitting hairs.
STP even and Pearl Jam and you know,
Pearl Jam. I wasn't a big fan of Pearl Jam, but
I
Soundgarden.
loved that a little. Now.
I just wasn't a big Eddie Vedder guy. You know what I mean?
There's a cool. You might like. There is a film
Jeremy.
called. But dude, get this though. The guy was like surfing in San Diego, like writing poems and shit, and then, you know, the singer from not Mookie Blaylock, whatever the band was before Pearl Jam, they had another name. Their singer fucking died. They were like on the verge of like, you know,
Right.
being the next big thing. And then the kismet of them somehow finding Eddie Vedder, they sent him all those songs. And he wrote the whole record to whatever they sent him. And the record, like start to finish, is so good. It's really got a beginning, middle, and end. So I think it's just an awesome album. That's why I always loved them. And you know, they're a little kind of, they're grungy, but they're also like a little hippie kind of. They're very Pacific Northwest, like, you know, they do shit
Right.
and save the ocean. I always liked them. But all of that shit was like the best.
Yeah.
STP was probably really the most poetic and cool because they kind of
He
they
was great. He was
encompassed a
great.
few different styles. You know, a little glammy thing.
And Creed. Let's not forget about Creed.
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 Well, yeah. Great record. You know, those songs.
He's
were
actually a
huge.
friend now. He's actually a good friend.
and I know he's always around and stuff. I see more now, and I know he's been through a lot. And but come on, those songs were amazing. It kind of weirded me out a little bit, like when it came out that they were like so Christianed out and stuff. I don't know why at the time. I remember that being like, oh, that makes them not cool.
Right.
But now when I'm driving and I just want to like see what's on the radio, and you always fall on that Christian station because they always come.
I don't hate it. I don't.
Are you kidding me? The production on these songs is like better than anything. I don't
Right?
even. They make great sounding records. There's hooks. And it sounds like you're like, is this One Republic? He's like, oh, he's talking about Jesus. Okay,
Right.
wait.
Yeah,
let me
sometimes you just get lost in the musicality of it,
It's
and then
hooky.
you just do not like listen to the words. Then you're like, oh, they're singing about Jesus Christ. Well,
But
that's
it's-
great, but like,
Just big money now
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
like
even a film.
you might be doing whatever you're doing, but
Yeah.
you're writing Jesus songs,
Yeah.
and people, you know.
Well,
exactly.
I gotta tell you, I gotta give you my
when the girls.
yeah. I'm gonna give you my Creed. Always my Creed, like sympathetic, you know, teary song. Is obviously
With
arms wide open, right? When I first found out my wife was pregnant,
Oh,
because you know he talks about that, so I felt like it was written for me.
yeah.
You know,
I felt
guess everybody
bad
does.
for him when he was going through his
Yeah, a little
stuff.
nutty stage.
I think that must happen to when you have that much success. Like, okay, you know,
when you come from nothing and you go
you
quickly.
get spun out, man.
Beatles or Stones?
Beatles.
And
But I mean, I worship the Stones too. But Beatles.
Beatles.
I saw Yesterday the other day.
Oh,
Have you seen it
interesting.
yet?
I've
No,
always
but
wanted to
I
see
heard
it.
it was
looks
great.
Worth
so
it. Worth
cool.
a see.
Yeah.
Definitely some funny, great stuff, and some really honest, beautiful moments.
Yeah.
You know, it's just so hard because the Beatles are just. I mean, they're just such perfection.
Right.
That
Favorite
all
Beatle?
these like
Who's your favorite
Beatles. It's Paul.
Yeah.
It's Paul.
Definitely.
It's just my favorite. You know, like I love them all, but Paul.
Yeah,
The
Paul.
eyes, the
Yeah,
tone
right,
of his
right.
voice.
Yeah.
You know, and it was just.
Yeah, he's fucking. He's a legend.
You got to see Nowhere Boy. That's a good Beatles film that no one has seen. It's about John Lennon as a kid, as like
really?
a teenager, and growing up with his like auntie and not knowing his real mother like lived down the street and his private school and like him kind of going through his Elvis. This kid Aaron Johnson, who's a great fucking actor. He was from Kick-Ass.
Mm-hmm.
He's in that movie and he crushes it. No one saw that movie.
Yeah, no.
Nowhere Boy.
Okay.
Yeah, check
Gotta
that
check
out.
that out. Yeah, definitely.
So in the next month, just let everybody know what's going on.
Yeah, finishing
and
this
also
record.
and also your social media and everything.
Yeah,
right?
finishing this record finally. I did a cool crowd fund this year. I have great fans, and my record Until I'm Wanted will be out, you know, later this year, early next year, whatever it is. You know, it's happening. The first few singles are available right now on Spotify. Go to Constantine Maroulis on Spotify. All About You's there. She's Just Rock and Roll. Here I Come. They sound great. You know, we've had All About You all over radio in the last year. So gonna finish that up, get it out. You know, these days it's so hard, but I really believe in the rest of the record. And, you know, nothing would please me more to be able to go out and rock with the band and promote a record, you know. So I'm excited about that. So definitely check that out.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm on the Roger Spottiswoode movie, Either Side of Midnight right now. I start Dark State next month. So look for those hopefully in 2020.
Is Dog State a romantic comedy? Or?
No, it's I actually play like this cult leader.
Oh, really?
Kind of a
I can see that.
David Koresh kind of guy. I'm pretty.
You could
stoked.
actually play David Koresh.
Yeah, I would totally love
You
that.
put glasses on, you're David Koresh.
Yeah, they've done it now. Yeah, and it's like he was a little more handsome than me.
No,
he doesn't have like. You know, I'm trying. I cut out the carbs for the last year. I got like 10 days till we really start shooting,
Right,
and I'm
right.
like, I want to try to get a little skinnier.
And where can we see you live?
Yeah, and then I have a bunch of shows coming up. I'm doing Halloween night in New York City. Go to ConstantineMaroulis.com. I'm playing in November in New Jersey. The same. You know, I'm more selective now. I like to do those sort of higher end events or making. You know, it's not just like plug in and play. I love that shit,
Right.
and I'll often do that. But you know, Halloween night is a big event. The show at the Mansion in Westfield, New Jersey in November is going to be quite an event. And just focusing on the record and the film and, you know, my daughter, you know, she's
Yeah,
in
it's
soccer
beautiful.
and ballet, and it's just she's 8.5, so that's really what it's about. I'm like soccer dad now.
That's awesome.
I'm like the long hair. By the way, oh my God, can I tell you one quick little story?
Yes.
Yeah, please.
We're at a travel game last Sunday in Secaucus, right? And yeah, a little bit of a tough town, you know, in some spots. So this is like this cool turf field though, right off the road, and we're all there and. The other side, you know, you could tell like the Wyckoff parents and then like the Secaucus parents. This is like a little bit of a different dynamic, just a little bit. And but I love, and they all had their Giants gear on because everyone was psyched on the Giants,
Right,
you know,
right.
trying to win a third game, maybe, you know, and we didn't win that Vikings game, but whatever. They had their stuff on. I had my Giants hat on. So all of a sudden I hear like there's a couple of portable goals like in the corner, like for practice purposes, pushed into the corner, and it was a little windy like today. And I hear one of them like kind of fall down on its face, you know, like, you know how a
Right.
goal is and it just goes down
Right.
on it. Sometimes you store them like that. And then I was like, what the fuck? That was really loud. Then I realized there's a little kid underneath.
Stop.
Oh, wow.
I run over there like freaking, like, I don't even know. It was just crazy. And I like slide and I pick the thing up and the kid's like reaching for me. Thank God there wasn't a lot of weight on him, but it was like this crazy thing that happened to me.
That
I
is
didn't
crazy.
believe me. I was just like any parent would have run over there. It happened to catch my eye because I'm so ADD. The noise like took my
Right.
head away, and the kid was like under the net. The parents didn't even know he had like snuck away. You know, like a 5-year-old,
Right.
you know, rugrat.
Right.
Can you imagine?
It's crazy. That's crazy. So now you're a soccer
And
dad.
then they're like, "You're on American Idol, and you got our son. I remember you."
That's so
And I was
funny.
like, everything's cool. I happened to run over there, whatever. It wasn't But the grandmother's like, I remember you. You were great.
That's funny.
I said, I'm still great.
That's there you go. And how do we?
This part's not as great. This like right here.
No, that's
You got someone
we have to just shoot you down
That's
like this
all
way. How do we find you? If people
Check me
listening,
out, man. I'm all over socials. I'm probably the only Constantine Maroulis out there. So you
No,
punch,
that's
you
a
punch
pretty
me
common
into
name.
the interwebs and at
You
Constantine
find another one.
at Constantine Maroulis on Instagram and on Facebook as well. You can find me all over and
Also, I'm sorry, real quickly before we go, we had some fans have questions.
Let's do
Do
it.
you happen to have
cut
those,
those
Brian?
in.
Real quickly? Did you send them to me, or do you have them? You could talk right into my microphone. It was like we took the 4 biggest fans, and I don't understand what you're saying, Brian.
And there was
Okay.
silence.
So I'm gonna look right now
the sound of silence.
because I know you have to pick up your daughter today too. So I just wanted to. I promised these people. They were begging me.
You can cut that whole story out about the soccer thing too.
No, I like the whole thing. Bro.
It's cute.
No, I love it.
But it was crazy, like being a soccer dad. It's not
totally
something I
different
ever
being-
anticipated in my life.
It's totally different being a
Kids
dad, though,
being
right?
Yeah,
Pushed
for
back,
sure.
yeah.
It's just
All right, so here we go.
all right.
What time are you getting there tomorrow? Well, that's.
Do you need anything from me?
Do you need? Oh, okay. That's for me.
Okay.
Hold on a minute. All right, here we go. Hold on 1 second. These are what we call being live bloopers. Okay.
That's fine.
Will you go to Greece for Red Door Lemon Tree?
That was another film I was supposed to shoot this year, and the director's husband passed away. He got quite sick and went quite fast, and it just got bumped to next year. So the hope is that it's a very cool film. It's this interesting kind of fantasy, but this story about this very famous actress who kind of, gives it all up because she promises her father on his deathbed that she would rediscover her roots in Greece, and like who she is and where she's from. And she goes on this crazy journey. She meets this like sailor who's never even owned a television in his life. He has no idea who she is.
Right.
And they have this sort of romancing the stone kind of caper.
That's cool.
And yeah, it totally works. And we're hoping to shoot it next year.
Awesome.
Oh my God, on the island of Crete, the lookbook. I mean, the locations. It was just
Sick.
like,
I
yeah,
know.
it's just sick.
Greece is the top.
amazing.
One of the
Hopefully
nice
she can
places
get
in
it done, and obviously, our thoughts are with Maria. She's a great director, great writer, has had a lot of stuff at TIFF, in Toronto, and hopefully we can get it done next year. Yeah.
Yeah.
Another question I got from a fan. What was your favorite song to perform during Rock of Ages?
Oh yeah. Oh wow. All of them, but particularly I think High Enough. That was a great duet, and it was always my idea to add the the bridge back into it, and it just gave it this whole other level dramatically, and really all the songs though, and
Yeah,
in a way they
classics.
kind of catered a lot of the sound of the show to the sound design to the strengths of my voice too. So that was just always fun, like finding those kind of places to really let it rip.
Right. And the last, you be collaborating with Frank Wildhorn.
Yeah, Frank is a very famous composer of all these shows, and he's so huge all over the world. And he takes some shit here critically, but people love his shows. The music is so beautiful. Bonnie and Clyde, The Civil War, obviously Jekyll and Hyde. Yes, we have a big Halloween show, as I said. We're working on some new stuff, bringing some of his lesser-known titles to the States. He's huge in Japan.
Oh, really?
He and I went there on tour together, and it was, it was
Awesome.
a big
So
deal.
cool.
It was like, what like Josh Groban is here, like
Right.
that kind of,
Yeah.
female,
Yeah,
audience,
yeah.
and it was pretty cool. Tokyo is the sickest place in the
Crazy.
world
Yeah,
for
yeah.
sure. So definitely a lot more with Frank, and hopefully some others too.
Awesome. Well, Constantine, you were amazing today.
You are.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much.
Jojo, you have any parting words?
Just thank you, and it was really nice meeting you.
And you as well. Thank you.
And we will see you next week on Indie World Podcast. Come and join us, and we'll talk to you soon. Ciao.
Hasta la pasta.
Slater.